Okay, this is Microsoft Word for ECDL. Start off with the basics. I'll go through the tabs one by one. I'm going to start off with where you go to change your name. So you click in there, in general, and you change the name in there. Okay, and click OK. That's fine, and then you click answer. On the home tab, as in all the other tabs, if you look, you have blocks inside here. So you've got a clipboard block. The blocks you'll be using will be the font block. Now you've got most of the options up here. You've got your bold and italic underline. You've got font larger, smaller. You've got uppercase, lowercase. Okay, so in one of the options it asks you to, in fact, let me just pause this a moment. Okay, so this is just a sample letter. We can use this for most stuff now. In some of the stuff they ask you to change or underline the formatting. So if you highlight something, you'll get a pop-up box which you can use. If in the exam it doesn't happen, you can just go up here, make that italic like so, or you can do Control and I. We've all got shortcuts. Another thing it asks you to do is merge two paragraphs. So if they're asking you to merge these two paragraphs, you just put your mouse there and press backspace twice, and that will merge the two paragraphs up. If they want you to align it left, so they might ask you to align a date left, which I know they did. So if we put the date in there, date and time, so we'll just put that sort of date in there, and that was aligned right. All they ask you to do is align that left, so you just highlight it, come across here and align it to the left. Okay, then shouldn't worry about these. You might be asked to change something to sentence case, so they might have an address at the top. So all you do is grab the address and you would choose sentence case in there. Okay. If you need any more options that relate to the font, you click on these down arrows here, and that brings up this dialog box. And one of the questions you'll be asked is asking for superscript. Well, that's superscript there, and all you need to do that is get the symbol, and I think it was something like copyright symbol. Just highlight it. Okay, go into your font, click on superscript, click OK, click answer. So you do that. The other options inside the font, got the font size, colors, underline style, and all the other options in here. Okay. The other box then is your paragraph box. Okay, one of the most useful things in here is this icon here. This displays all the hidden symbols. So for example, if I come to here and I insert a page break, you can't actually see that page break. The only way you'll see that page break is if you click on this symbol that looks like a musical note, and that will then show you the page break and shows you all the other symbols that are hidden inside Word. So where I took that space out before, if I put that space back into the two paragraphs, you can see now I've got my two symbols. To get rid of the page break, just pop your cursor at the end of the page break and press delete, or press backspace, and that will get rid of that. Okay, so that's a very useful tool there. They might ask you to bullet point something, so if you highlight a series of lines and they want bullet points, there's bullet points in there, and they say of your own choice, so just pick up a bullet point. If they want it numbered, there's numbers in there. and there's also numbers in there, so you can do that. Okay, let's take that off. What they also do is they might put a tab mark in there, which is an L, and they'll ask you to remove it, so you just click on it, drag it off, and it disappears. These indent. Okay, so if you wanted to indent this paragraph, you can indent it like that. They might ask you to take the indent off, so as long as your cursor is there, you can click, and that will take the indent off. You've got your left align, center align, right align, and this one is for justify. Okay, they will ask you to justify. Okay, so what you do is select from where they say to where it finishes, and I think it does this, and it says justify that, so you just click on that icon there, and that justifies, so it looks square, so the margins are the same. If you need to do line spacing, it's in this icon here, 1, 1/4, 1 1/2, 2, 2, 2, 5. The other options you're going to be asked to do are borders in here, so they might ask you to highlight some text there and pop a border around it. So outside borders, that gives you an outside border. It might ask you for a particular size, so go into borders and shading, click on that box, and then you can choose whichever they ask for, 1 1/2, 2, click OK, and that will put your box on that. Alright. Any other options you can't find in there, click on this box here, and that gives you a lot more options. There's your indent, so if they say put an indent in of 6 from the left, pop that up to 6. Okay. What they also ask you to do is they'll ask you to put space either before or after. So if you want space after the paragraph, you just put after, and they might ask for 12 points, or it might be on 12 and they'll ask you for 18, whichever. And you can see it happening down in the preview down here, where the lines actually start to open up, so you can see if you're doing the right one. Okay. Again, if you click on the tabs down here, it helps you sort your tabs out, and you can see now you've got the bigger space. Okay. If you need line breaks and paragraphs, there and there, you won't have to do anything with that. Okay. So that's inside there. So if you're stuck, just go for the little drop arrow. Styles, they might ask you to apply a style called VIDI to something down the bottom here. So you come into here, and if you can't see it, there'll be a style called VIDI in this box. You just click on this little arrow again. That gives you all the styles in there. If you click on this, this opens up this style box. Okay, VIDI should already be set up in there, and you close that down afterwards. They'll ask you to find and replace a word. So if they ask you to find the word child, for example, if you highlight the word child and go to replace child and then put in children, replace all. Do you want to search from the beginning? Yes, please. Made 5 replacements. Once you've done that, close, answer. Okay, so you can see it's replaced child with children. So that's basically your home tab. Insert tab is when you put anything into it. So if it asks you to put in a picture, you click on that there, and what they ask you to do is go to the Z drive. Well, on your computers, you click into that, and you'll find you'll have a computer with 2 drives. One will be in the Z drive, and you just go to the Z drive to open your things up. I'll cancel that at the moment. They'll ask you to put shapes in, and the arrow shapes you want. If they ask you for arrows, of these 2 here, just put it in, draw it out, and that's your arrow. Okay, you do for everything you do like that, you'll have a formatting. So this helps you. This is the shape fill, shape outline. So again, you can go into here and go to weight, and that lets you change the weight of the outline. So you can do that, and it gives a deeper outline. If they ask you for an effect, look at shape effects. They'll ask you for a shadow. Go in here, pop a shadow on. So that's inside format. Okay, so if you click off it, it'll disappear. As soon as you click back on it, it comes back onto the format tab where you can mess around with things. Okay. If you have to send that backwards or forwards, again, just click on the arrow, bring forward or bring to front. They might ask you to send something to the back, so just send that to the back. If they ask you to group, you need to select two icons and go into the group. If they ask you to align it, you can do that there. Okay. So that's insert. We've got shapes in there. That's fine. Come across here. Don't worry about it. They might ask you to insert a date. Well, that's over here. Make sure you're. So if you're in the header and footer, I've got a massive header and footer here, but they might ask you to inside the header and footer to actually put a date into the footer. In which case, or page numbers. More like to ask for page numbers. Go to the bottom of the page, and they want left aligned plain numbers. Is that one? Might ask for plain number right aligned, and just do that, and that puts a page number in the footer. Okay, and once you've done that, you click close header and footer, and you'll find that your page is now numbered. Okay, going back to here, you've got header and footers, page numbers, text box, word art. Don't worry about this particularly. Date might be the one they want you to put in. Go to design. This just changes the design of the page. They won't ask you about. What they might ask you to do is actually change the color. So you go in there and you choose a background color for the thing. They might ask you to mess around with the page borders, so you can find that in design as well. Okay, so that's done. I'm just going to Control Z so we can see the thing. Then we've got layout. Layout, this is where you'll find your orientation. So whether it's portrait or landscape. Breaks are in there, but you're better off just using insert and page break. It gives you indents in here as well. Again, there's arrows, so you can click on that and you'll get your box, which brings up a load of other options. On here, it brings up the same box it is on the front, on the home tab, with all your tabs and everything in there. Don't worry about this particularly. References, you won't be using that. Mailings, you will be using. So, mailings. I'm just going to go and just change this letter slightly. Okay, so when they ask you about the mailings, you go to the mailings tab here. Start a mail merge. Click on there and just click letters. Okay. Then they'll ask you to insert a merge field. So no, the next thing they'll ask actually is they'll ask you to select recipients. So go into there and they will say use an existing list, and then you go into the Z drive, open up their list, and that will apply the whatever they got in there. And once you've applied the list, so if I go into use an existing list, let's try. Okay, so I've just applied that. Okay, so now once I've applied my list, and you've opened up from the Z drive, they'll ask you maybe to put in a first name field inside there. So all you have to do is go into insert and look for the one that says first or first name. This is different to what you'll have, but it'll say first name, and you insert that there, and it pops in that merge field in there. Okay, they might ask you to put in a city or a town or anything like that. It's just go to insert merge field. Okay, I ask you to actually put in a complete block, but normally it's to go into here and insert. Just make sure you put it in the right place. Leave a space so there's a space between two names, and then they'll ask you to finish a merge. So normal Word document. Okay, there we go, and then you click because they don't want to print. Click answer. So that's what you do there. Review, they won't ask you to do anything other than spelling and grammar. So you click on this here. And one thing they will ask you to do is they will ask you to, so if there's any names on there wrong, you could ignore all. So just click ignore, and it goes through the, so it wants to spread it out, but doesn't want to do that. That's now bringing up an error because I've changed child to children. So I'm going to not save the changes anyway, so I can change that. Okay, And what you will get on yours is you will be asked to, so let's come out of that minute, you'll be asked to add a custom word to, so at the moment I'm on, that's read mode, press escape to get out of that, web layout. They'll ask you to do an outline mode, or they'll ask you to go into draft mode. So it's view, draft mode. Okay, that's all you need to do. It's normally on print layout. If you go into here, they might ask you to add a word into the custom dictionary. So if you right click that word, get at it. Okay, so if you get the word with the right click it, it gives you what it thinks it might be. Ignore it, add to dictionary. So you'd add that word into the dictionary, and that's how you do that. And you click answer. Okay. Let's go back up here. So that's just spelling and grammar. There's nothing else I'll ask on there. Proofing, no, you won't need. In view, again, this is where you go into your different views. They normally ask for it, put it into outline or draft mode, and then click OK. They ask you to display the grid lines or the navigation panes there. Other than that, that's about it really, and that's Word. Now, the other thing they'll talk about is saving out. So if you go into File and go Save As, they'll ask you to save into the Z drive. So I'm just going to go Browse. You find your Z drive. Now that's the file name. Okay, so they might ask you to save it as a different file name, but they'll ask you to save it maybe as a PDF. So this is the file type. So you look in here and you find PDF. They might ask you to save it as a template, which is there, or they might ask you to save it as a Word XML document, which is there. So all the options they're going to ask for are going to be in this list, but this is the type box. Okay, and then you click save. I'm not going to save it because I'm not going to save the changes to this. And that's about it really, and that covers everything you're going to be asked in Word. Okay. Okay. One thing they will actually ask you to do is insert a table. So come to table. If you need to insert a table, we'll do 4 by 2, and that inserts your table there. They'll ask you to change the borders. They'll ask you to put a background on. So if you select the table by hitting the little move symbol there, and then you've got two choices. You've got design here, and you've got layout. Okay. So what you're going to do is it'll go to there, and it'll say change the borders to half or 3 point or whatever. You choose whatever you want in there. So that changes. In fact, we'll change it to 2 1/4. Okay. And you can change the color of the border in there. In fact, you have to draw that on then, so you just like so. Okay, and that gives the borders that you want. In fact, I need to, that's better. There we go. And that gives the blue border. Okay. You can do all borders, so that does that. So that's a quicker way of doing it. Okay. What they'll also ask you to do is they'll ask you to. There'll be some writing in here, so we'll have 1, 2, 3, 4. One thing they'll ask you to do is actually then make this background color different on here. So you can either drag across all the cells like that and do a fill, like so. That's perfectly acceptable. Okay. You can wait until you hover at the end and just click and it highlights all together, but either way is fine. The other thing they'll do is they will ask you maybe to change the size of this. In fact, what they will do is ask you to put a column in there. So if you go, so it highlights the end column with the black arrow, or again, you can just highlight down like that. Right click, distribute rows, distribute columns. So so if they're out of whack, for example, if they're wrong like that, if you highlight the whole table and right click, and then say distribute rows evenly, so that's like that. That's rows, and then columns. It then makes them exact size. What they'll ask you to do is ask you to add a column. So highlight your column either with the black arrow or dragging over the two there. Click, insert, columns to the right, and it puts another column in. Okay, so that's what you do with tables. Again, you can change the design in here. Alright, you have got a box that opens up to do all the board stuff in there. So that's that. What they will ask you to do as well is, if I change this to bold, italic, and I make that a lot bigger, they'll say copy the formatting from that word into one of these words or all these words here. So all you do is you go to here, highlight, format painter, and then just draw, highlight across with the format painter. That changes the format. If you only have to do one word, that's fine. If you need to do two, double click it and it stays on for as long as until you're finished. And that's what they'll ask you to do with the format painter. Okay.